5, 4, 3, 2, 1, fire. The only thing we have to fear is fear.
Mile 18.
This is Endurance Nation.
Are you tired of just losing your fitness every year? Of getting out there on the open road come springtime and everyone else is still faster than you and you're not making progress? We understand. We created the Outseason program just for you. It's a 14-week protocol for triathletes and gravel cyclists with an opportunity to lock in through your Zwift workouts and focused training to unlock your potential by targeting functional threshold and high VO2 workouts with some endurance on the weekends. We build your fast before you're far. So by the time you get to the spring, you can turn down the fast and start adding some volume when the weather gets nice and unleash your endurance potential. Stop following the same program and hoping you get different results. Head over to endurancenation.us/outseason to get our 14-week program for one low price now.
All right, folks, we're back with part 2 of the Unbound 200 2025 race podcast by Endurance Nation. Hosted by Dude and Guy here on the Dude Guy podcast. The special hosts here, joined with by Matt, my good friend and colleague, who is the logistician extraordinaire who put this race together, assembled all the parts. I am just the person. I am the monkey in the space.
Riding for hours on end.
Turn legs, go that way. Go forward, turn legs. That was my job. And together, we put together a race that I'm pretty proud of and excited about, but it wasn't always easy. It wasn't always simple. And I thought maybe we could talk a little bit about the race plan and then how it unfolded. Sound good?
Sounds great.
Let's do this. Let's do it. So, all right. So I knew the race course, and actually let's pull up the map so we can just kind of take a little bit a look here at the map as well. Let me pull up the screen. Oh, you can only share one screen at a time. Look at this. All right, that sounds so good. Getting all stingy with this stuff. All right, here we go. I'm going to pull it up. Amazing. Boom, there we are. Here's the course. So you get a sense of how it plays out. And we knew that the wind was predominantly coming from the west, essentially. So it was sort of like mostly west or some flavor of like, northwest, southwest, or westy west, you name it. But it was definitely coming from the west. And so we're looking at the race here. We're going north to south. And for the most part, pretty straight shot out. It's predominantly this. I know it looks steep here, but it's 1%, 2%, etc. It takes you. Let's see. We start off at like 1,100 feet, and we get to mile 34, you're at like 1,500 feet. So it's like only 400 feet of climbing. Yeah, there's a couple of punchy climbs in there, but it wasn't that. So I knew that heading out of town here, that this race was going to be fast. And so my plan essentially was, hey, I'm going to go out here and I'm going to be fast. I'm going to ride in a group and stay in this group as long as I can. This is free time and free speed, riding in a group, because later on the group will not be there. And I factored in the fact that heading across the top here, making my way over to Aid 1 and then out of Aid 1, like this would slow down here. Once we left Aid 1, that we would be, or Pit 1, I guess, Pit 1, that this would be really wide open here. It gets a lot bumpier inside this section here, like super pitchy, etc. And then I'll just, your headwind, crosswind, tailwind, etc., all the way down. And so I knew that was going to be sort of the Bermuda Triangle, if you will, of places. And then finally, Pit 2, and then coming all the way home. And this looks really simple, but this actually translated into lots of open, exposed time to wind and lots of straightaways for those of you who are familiar with the Boston Marathon, and just spend lots of time looking forward and seeing nothing change. That was all those open wide sections for me. So my plan essentially was to start strong, stay in the group for as long as I could. Once I got through the first pit, my plan here was to be okay, now I'm going to be steady. I'm going to lock in my numbers and just ride as steady as I can until Pit 2. And then from Pit 2 in, I was I'm just going to try and get this thing done. It's going to be much quieter.
Let's pause for a second there. So
yes,
you did a lot of that planning. Certainly you looked at the course and stuff like that before, but so the night before you had Epic Rides out and you're doing the wind thing. And I thought, wow, that's ninja stuff, using the Epic Rides wind. And we knew which way the wind was going to come from. And you knew when the wind was going to be in your face, generally all day coming from the west.
Mm-hmm.
The thing that I was most concerned about while you were doing that planning was the amount of time it was going to take you to get to each one of the aids. So if there's these 2 aid stations where I'm going to see you, like what's the time it's going to take you, like regardless of miles, it's really like how long is it going to take you in time to get there? So we were guessing like, because the first aid is at like 78 miles. So that like generally what we thought was going to be 3.5 to 4 hours. So, and then another 4-hour ride then to aid 2, and then another 4-hour ride home. So essentially the ride breaks up into like 3-4 hour chunks. We guessing, right? I mean, it was like, we knew you had to carry, and then we knew you had to carry fluids and food for the first 4 hours, because you weren't going to stop at the first oasis, the water oasis, because there's a water break. So you were going to get to aid 1 with everything. You were going to carry everything to aid 1. And then we knew it was going to get warm, right? Because it was going to be, if it starts at 6:30, and if it was going to be 4 hours ish, so that puts you there at like 10:30. We knew by noon it was going to be what, like 80 or something like that, right? We knew it was going to get hot. So we knew that like from aid 1 to aid 2 was going to be hot. And that's also when it was like crosswind, right? Or, and then aid 2, and then aid 2 home is another, also in the hot, but another 4 hours and stuff like that. So that's what I was thinking. And that's what I was watching you. Anyway, that's what I was thinking. It was like, how many hours are we going to be? And then did you have the stuff with you that you needed? Especially when it got hot.
Yeah, absolutely. 100%. Yeah. And so that was like, sort of like, we had, like, I knew what I wanted to do, and then I had stuff to help me continue doing what I wanted to do. That was the plan. There you go. And then race day happened. Got a good seed in the corral, was kind of up front, like in the 8 to 9 hour range, I guess, which is super beefy. But I like to be close to the front because I'm not super aggressive, and took off with the crew. And I started riding, and it was fast in the beginning for sure. Not sketchy.
So
like
pause a
downhill
second.
fast.
So pause for a second. So when I saw where you lined up, I was worried. Like I was like, I'm like, hey, so like this is like a marathon start. This is a mass start event, so all the amateurs are all lining up at one time. Everybody's in the corral, and we're looking for Patrick and Corey, and you're in like the 10-hour time slot or something like that. Like you've positioned yourself at the front quarter of the race. So we shot video of everybody leaving, and you guys roll out in like the first minute and a half you go by us. And we stood there and watched everybody else leave for another like 5 or 6 minutes. Riders rolled by us. And I'm like, I really hope, I know this is free speed, but I'm like, just do not go racy no race, please. No racy during these first 4 hours. We have 8 more hours to ride. Please, no racy.
What are you talking about? The data will tell the real story. But yes,
yeah. I was concerned at the start where you positioned yourself.
Rightfully so. I would not disagree with that sentiment. But I was like, I wanted to be up front, whatever. And it was actually because, there's crashes and things happening and sort of craziness. And like the further you're back in the line, like it's just like driving on the highway when there's like congestion, it just manifests itself all the way down the peloton. And the next thing you know, you're strung out like 5 miles behind the front and blah, blah, blah. So I was like, I'll stay close to the front. And it was definitely spicy in the beginning in terms of like little surgy and people trying to sort things out, and tons of just crashes. We had dumb crashes. We had a dude guy who decided to not ride the road, but like take a left diagonally across it and did not anticipate a drainage ditch. So he just went right over his bars. He was fine, but like literally was saving himself 1 second. No idea what that was about. We had another dude guy who made a sharp left as well and was on the left-hand side of like a little gravel berm, I guess, if you will, that had recently laid down gravel. And when he tried to come back, the gravel just ate his bicycle up like some crazy scene out of Dune, and spit him out the other side, like flying over into the rocks, which was awful. And then you have people just hitting random patches of mud, or like places where the course went to like Jeep tracks instead of a single road. And people got bunched up and they went flying. There were a couple big crashes, like people off in the bushes and things like that. And that's simply, I put that up to obviously poor decision making, but also high speeds, since there wasn't a lot of hills in the beginning. People were moving pretty fast for sure. Speaking of moving pretty fast, I was also moving pretty fast in the beginning as well. And the numbers will show that. I can pull up the training peaks here to kind of show.
So while you're putting up training peaks, so we watched you leave, and then we got in the truck with Corey's family, and we were like kitted out. Like they had everything we needed. We had a massive tent. We had the wagon. We had chairs. We had a table. We had we had a legit setup. And so we were trying to get to a good spot at Aid 1. And primarily we wanted to be close to the Porta-Johns so that if somebody had to go to the bathroom, that it wasn't a hike or you didn't have to make a separate trip. And then we also wanted a good sight line to see the riders coming in. So we wanted you to be able to see us, and we wanted to be able to see you. So it's a little bit of Wild Wild West when you show up at the aid station and you park in one place and then you hike your stuff in. So we were anxious about finding a good place to park that was close enough that we didn't have to hike our table and chairs and tent and all that stuff like that too far. And then also be able to see you when you're coming down the road. And then our plan was to text you and to tell you, where we were. And then you would get that text on your Garmin head. Did you see that text that we sent you? Like, by Shimano or whatever, or did you just?
Oh, yes, I did see that. Yes, by Shimano, yes.
Yeah, so that we were set up by the Shimano guys. So we figured we were trying to tell you we were by the Shimano tent. So anyway, so that was
my guy. It was also helpful that you were wearing that gigantic hat. Like it was also like
yes,
I'm also
I did
wearing
have
a gigantic hat. Like
I did have a gigantic hat and stand in the middle of the road when I saw you. But it's hard. Like all the riders, I mean, like he has a white helmet. He has a white helmet and EN kit. And you're moving at 17 miles an hour. So, it's, you want to be able to see you. We don't want you to ride past the tent. We don't want you to ride further than you need to. So I think we did a good job of linking up.
We definitely did. All right.
So you were going to pull up the data. I was telling a story while you're doing that.
I'm going to pull up the data as we do it here. So this is the full race all jammed in here on the screen. And I'll kind of highlight it. It'll show up on the map below so you can see. So like started the race here and this is the first aid, which is like up in this range here, around mile 78, 75-ish. So some version of this here. Coincidentally, the blue line here is heat. So you can see that. Actually, let me take away. I don't need the RPMs. We need the elevation watts. I don't care about speed. And you can see the temperature. So you've got some elevation, we got some red heart rate, we got some blue temperature, and we got some purple power. And so you can see that actually, over the course of the day, the heart rate was, roughly in sort of a similar band here for, a couple hours. So we're these 2 mile 140, that second aid station before things started to really sort of dip down. But let's talk about the beginning of the race. So all the way out, basically from the beginning of this race, all the way out here to basically this first, like this turn here, let's call it like mile 47, 48, 49, etc. On those numbers right there, 49 miles, I was riding at 0.86 for almost 2.5 hours. Normalized power of 297. My heart rate was like 136, which for me is like borderline zone 4. Like, look out. Ridiculous. And a cadence of 80. And almost as tellingly here is the VI is 1.15, which lets you know that I am not racing like a triathlete. I am surging. I'm pushing back on. I'm trying to close gaps. I'm trying to stick with groups, etc. And got super racy in this section. In fact, if you zoom out, if you go all the way to that first aid station here, which is somewhere in this space here, and take a look at that. My IF is 0.85. I was at 294 watts for 3 hours and 40 minutes. And again, like just doing lots of work in a good group and moving. My speed at the time was 19.5. I don't have speed on my dial, but I can see it obviously now, and put a lot of time in. What I don't think I appreciated was the whole time I'm doing this, my watts are dropping, which is not as probably as visible to me at the time. But this blue line temperature, which started off at a wonderful like 52, by the time I hit that aid station was already at 73. It already gone up 20 degrees in those 3 hours and change. It put me in a bad spot. So I know I talked to you about this a little bit afterwards, but I definitely rode too hot. And I definitely did too much work closing the gaps down. Like the groups would eventually come back together anyway, but it took me like 3 hours to figure that out. Like when a split would happen in front of me, I'd be like, oh, I got to go up there and pull across. I'm not strong enough to leave the group behind me, but like what I should have done is just anticipate that like in this scenario, the second group is going to catch up to that first group anyway. There were some places where it didn't, and I was glad to be in the group that I was. But for 89, 90% of them, I could have just sat in the back and we would have all come back together again and life would have been fine. So more than a few matches were sacrificed in this first portion of the race. Like set me up to be in a good group for sure. But really that good group only lasted to the aid station when I saw you, because by the time I got to the aid station and we left the aid station, there were like only 2 people left in the entire friggin' race apparently because I couldn't see anybody. Like Kansas eats crowds of people because nothing was ever left out there whatsoever. So coming into the aid station, I'd had all of my fluids, which was good. I'd eaten almost all of my food, which was awesome. So despite being in the crowds, I was able to eat and drink, and actually being able to coast allowed me to do more of the eating and drinking. But at the same time, I mean, I was burning through calories as well. I think I was up to, this is at almost 3,500 calories by the time I get to at that first aid station, that's a lot of power bars, my friend. That's a lot of Gatorade, a lot of scratch endurance, etc. But I rolled into town like I was ready to go. We rolled through the water oasis. Nobody in my group stopped. It was way too early. We were only like maybe 2 hours in. Nobody really needed anything. And we rolled right through that. So rolling into the aid station, I was like, I need fluids and I need food. Like I was hungry. I was still amped and excited because like energy was still high early in the day. And I felt good. Like I felt sort of racy, but I don't know what you see in this data or what you saw when I rolled in.
Yeah. So I thought you looked really good when you rolled in. I knew you were faster than we anticipated, because I think you rolled in at like, I'm going to guess like 3:45, but everybody was coming through fast. Like the pros, the whole field was fast. When we were talking to like the photographers for the, it was just a fast day because it was relatively dry. But like the field was fast. And plus you guys had started further up in the field. So it kind of made sense that you were just traveling faster because the average speed of everybody around you is that. I thought that first aid went well. Like everybody that was on the crew team, like Corey's family all had a role, like each daughter had a role, like her husband had a role. But yeah, our priority was to get you off the bike so we could work on it. And we would do that first because if something like bike stuff takes a long time, so you get off the bike, drop your pack. We'd take care of your sunglasses, and then we'd talk to you, and then once the bike was clean and ready, because the drivetrain gets so dry, we lube the drivetrain so you don't have squeaky for another 70 miles. Plus, it just feels great to ride on a good drivetrain. And then you dump your trash, and then we would load you back up with a new hydration pack, new bottles, and then give you all new food, and then sunscreen you and stuff like that, or take care of any of the other stuff. So from our time in Leadville, like, getting that down is like critical of saving minutes and stuff like that. So
totally,
I was really, I really wanted to keep that. I really wanted to keep on that kind of process of like, and I think we did a good job of that up front. And I think, I don't think we wasted any time, and I think you got enough rest. There's also some value in just getting off your bike for a second, right? Of being able to just not be pedaling for a second. So I think that one went well. I think from talking to you, you were engaged, you were pretty happy, you were still telling jokes, I thought you were in a good space. So but we knew it was going to get hot. So I was just concerned about, that was the part I was just concerned about you leaving, because we just knew it was going to get hot. But you left with everything you needed. And I don't know, it didn't take all that long. I mean, we were in there for maybe, I don't know, 2 or 3 minutes. I don't know. I think it was a good break, and we got you out of there. You didn't there was no, didn't have to dodge any other riders or anything like that taking off. So
exactly.
We had a good spot. Yeah. Gave you a good push to get out of there. What'd you think?
I thought it was perfect. Like rolled in and knew I wanted like a Coke, the sunscreen. I was giving orders to me and Chloe. I was like, do this, give me that. Like, where's the sunscreen? I did want to talk to you about I was a little worried my rear tire was low. Like I realized later that it was not. but just I hadn't really ridden it for that long. I think like that tire at that pressure, and it was just a little bouncy because that's just what that tire is with me on it. It was fine. But in my mind, I was like, I'm going to tell Matt. And then I left and I was like, I did not tell Matt about the tire part, which is fine. It seemed to go super well. And I was in a rush. I think in retrospect, if I looked around and saw that there was literally nobody near me, I might have actually waited a moment or two for someone else to roll out to go with them. Like just strategically, it didn't make sense to go out on my own.
To be fair, though, we were set up in like the pro zone because you went down the street, took a right, and then took a left, and then that's when you hit all the other colored aid stations. So
that's true.
In our effort to find a really good spot, we ended up in the pro zone. Yeah, we were across from the specialized repair tent or the Shimano repair tent, and then when the pros would come through. Just as a side note, when the pros would come through, they there was 3 women off the front, and they were just hammering, but like they would just eject bottles like it was the tour. Like they would just come through and just throw the bottles to the side of the road. But when the women's chase group came by, they came through 4 wide and just ejected bottles like it was shrapnel coming out of it. It was just It was pretty wild. It was seriously wild. And then they're all holding their arm out trying to hit the musette bag. I mean, it's pretty exciting to watch, to tell you the truth. Also pretty wild. Anyway, just as a side note.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No. You're 100% right. Like I can only imagine. Like definitely, I was not ejecting anything. Just trying to eject myself out of that bike seat. But yeah, so I leave A2. We'll come back to it. I have fuel on board. I've got ice in a plastic bag on the back of my neck, and I'm like, let's get down to work. So let's head over to let's go to the data. Let's go to the data tape again. We'll take a look at this bad boy with the data. So we're back. All right, so here we are. We've just exited Aid 2. We're like, okay, we're going to head out. Sorry, Aid 1, sorry. I mean,
Aid 1, yeah. So, you're headed. So, you have a water oasis midway there, and then we're going to see you at Aid 2 another 4 hours away.
Exactly. So like Aid 2.
You go off into the abyss for 4 hours and get water.
So
get water. We'll see you again.
Yeah, so it's 70 miles here, and then we go all the way over here, and we say, oh, my God, I'm going to see Matt somewhere around here in Council Grove.
Yep.
Well, that second stop here, I think when the temperature drops again.
148. Yep.
148. So that section here, you can see this is at this point in time, the temperature builds for this first hour and a half or so, and then just kind of sustains across this day. And this piece here was really sort of the tail of the tape for me, which was even though it was an oasis inside here, temperature wise, like this growth, which was like from 75 all the way up to about 90. On the road with the speed and the sun coming off of the dirt was pretty rough. And in this section for me personally, I spent a lot of time with just one other person. Like we were trying to chase his friend. When I rolled out of town and started going again, I found another group. I got together with about 6 or 7 people, and it was rolling pretty well. We hit a train track crossing where a train came through. It took about 6 minutes for the train to come through. And then we got back to it, and I was like, we're going to all work together. We did not work together. Nobody wanted to work together. Everybody wanted to try and destroy the race, even though it was like mile 90. I was like, okay, whatever. So mile 112 was the oasis. So I rolled into the oasis with this group. I was like, everybody fuel up, let's go. I get the Gatorade, I fill up my bottles, etc. By this point in time, I know I've got a problem with my fuel and the hydration pack because I'm unable to drink it. I'm starting to kind of burp a little bit, etc. It's not strong enough in the pack, I feel like. It turns out it was probably too strong. So I was like, it's not enough. I'm not getting it. So I put salt in the bottle on my down tube of my nutrition and put that in the backpack, which probably turned it into a nutrition bomb. Got some regular Gatorade, which went down just fine, and a bunch of water, and then rolled out. But I did that. It probably took me 3 minutes or 4 minutes, maybe 4 minutes. And there was nobody there. Like nobody was leaving. A bunch of people were laying down. Maybe 20 people were kind of laying down and chilling out. And I was like, my train is gone. Like my train have left the station. I don't know where they are. Like I didn't see them leave, but there was nobody there. The guy I came in with who was strong. He's like, I'm not leaving. I was like, okay. So I started riding. It took me about 2 miles, and I found one other person. And then me and this person rode together for the better part of 30 miles, trying to chase his friend with whom we could never catch. And it was about this time that I started cramping and sort of not feeling super good about my day as my stomach was backing up. And obviously those early miles were taking their toll. From a numbers perspective here, this section between the aid stations, I was at 0.71, so sort of more Ironman pacing, 246 in terms of the watts. Heart rate was about 136, so a little bit higher as well. The VI was 1.1, and that's probably like a function of like a lot of coasting, etc. But really, this is where things, and you can kind of see the power starting to drop and it's separate from the heart rate line. This is where I started to really suffer and be like, how do I pace myself? In fact, the last 8 miles, because I thought it was 70 miles between aid 1 and aid 2, it was 78. Those last 8 miles were like interminable, and there were quite a few like really spiky hills in here. Like the total elevation gain in this space. Here we go. Elevation gain was like 3,000 feet. Was like distributed such that instead of just one decent climb, we just had lots of short, spiky ones, and it really just chipped away at me and ate away at me. So I looked at this whole section of the race and just said, this portion of the race would have been much better if it was brought to you by me and 5 other people. Unfortunately, it was brought to you by me and like really just one other person who was great, and we worked together as long as we could. But there just wasn't a lot of shelter. There's no shade out there. And this is where I started to feel like going steady. And 0.71 for me is steady. Like that's not a bad number to be at. That's an okay number. But that steady meant that like people weren't really catching me, but I also wasn't really catching anyone else. I feel like whereas in the first third of the race, I was moving quickly and aligned with others. In this portion of the race, it just sort of disintegrated and ended up being sort of like everyone just ride your pace as you're able to ride. I felt pretty good about pushing and challenging myself. But again, probably with my friend trying to help out and help him catch his friend, I may have been pulling a little bit too hard on the front, etc. Like just a little more than I probably should have, and really kind of felt that pain later coming in. Like by the time I hit you at A2 at mile 148, my whole body, all my legs had cramped, all of them, and my back had cramped. And even when I tried to turn and like stretch my back, like holding onto the seat, the seat, like my chest would cramp from just having been like grabbing the bike or wrestling the bike or whatever it was. Like neck was never really a problem, but like lower back, the torso, all of that was really starting to feel it. I needed sunscreen for sure because the heat was brutal. And I wanted ice and water on me completely because it was super hot. But I knew I was in trouble at this point because I just wasn't keeping, things just were not digesting. Even though I was eating and drinking on schedule, I just wasn't getting into my gut. It just didn't feel 100%. All right. Tail of the tape. Matt, what did you see?
I thought we had a good aid. Again, we had a pretty good aid spot, but like there is that one was more chaotic because the 100 also overlaps the 200 at that aid station. So like we had 100 riders coming through and 200 riders coming through. We could tell it was hot just by the way the pros would come through and they were super salt stained. And then like they were all piling on the ice. So plus we just knew from walking around, like it's getting hot out there. Tracking you is more difficult because we didn't have your tracker because you're the Wahoo thing, track your map. So we like, like Eric had your cell phone cell phone number from like many years ago. So we were able to plot you on a map, but then we had to transpose that to where you were on the course. Cause it said you were like 15 miles away by like straight answer, but like you actually had like 30 more miles to ride because the course takes you like the long way around. So that was a little challenging to figure out like when exactly you were going to, show up. So you showed up and then we ran the same drill, but I changed the way we handle like less NASCAR, less like F1 pit stop. And we definitely slowed this one down because as you came in and you talked about cramping and stuff like that, I thought it was more important to have you tell the story, get some time off the bike, because I think that in the long run, that would give you, help you revive a little bit, going into the last leg of the thing. So like last leg of the event. So, you looked good. You were still smiling, but your eyes told me that you were concerned. So I was a little concerned. But your ninja power is the problem solving in Kona, right? So like the last part of the bike and the run, like that's what you love to do is the problem solving part. Right. So, I knew if we could identify what your problem was, we could probably solve for it. Like, if it was like you needed more electrolytes or if you wanted to go to the Coke or, if you just wanted Coke in your bottles. Cause I think we changed your bottle strategy at that point, right? Like I had pre-made your backpack that we were going to swap out for your hydration. Yes. And I think you wanted it diluted. So we dumped some, and then we dumped some of that hydration, and then we, just diluted it. And then we changed your bottle strategy. So we had pre-made all your bottles so that we could swap them, but then we decided to do something different with your bottles. And then after that was all loaded up, I think we even just, I said, tell me another story, just so I could get you like to stand around for just another minute to recover a little bit longer. So I think so the first one was more F1, and I think the second one was definitely more relaxed, but I think that was the appropriate decision to make, because faster was not better at that point, but we still used the same process. We just, we're a little bit more, reserved about it. We weren't so amped to get you back out. How did you feel? How did you feel it went?
Yeah, definitely. Like, you were definitely trying to slow me down a bit, get the full story, see where I was at. Like, I came in just complaining about cramps, very different than being like, this is awesome. It was like, not awesome. If the first one was F1, this one was F me. I think I was definitely feeling the pain and the struggle bus coming, like looming behind me. I think in retrospect, like, we made good decisions. We did what we could. Sunscreen, got wet, put ice on, everything. I think in retrospect, there were a couple of key decisions that I made that I could have made here. Like, one was, you tried to give me a bottle of Coke. I should have taken the Coke with me. Like, only consuming that at the aid just meant that I was limiting myself to distribute that sort of sugar across and caffeine across a broader window, which would have been definitely beneficial for me, despite the weight of carrying a little bit more soda. I should have also adjusted. I should have known by now, and I did know, but I didn't do anything about it, that my calories weren't working. And not that we had other stuff I could have done, but I definitely could have had a backup plan or something. I really had sort of made some changes, because I wasn't drinking enough, because I couldn't drink the calories I had. My stomach was stopping. I was just drinking water, and I was missing out on like some sodium and some just general sugar. And that was going to take a toll soon around the corner. Didn't recognize that. So I didn't pull the right levers. And I think one of the challenges with a race of this duration is that as you exert yourself over time, like at this point in time in the day, like, if we do the math on this, where am I? Like 150 over here. If you put this by time, I'm at 8.5.
I think at this part you're at 8.5 hours, isn't it? Like this point,
8:40 into the thing. Like, my brain. That's a full day of work right there, friends. I've been on the bike. Like, that's not, my brain's not working super hot. And I think that in the future, I might do something like have like a set of questions that I ask myself. When you have a concussion and it's like, hey, like, what's your name? Where do you live? How old are you? Who's the president? Or whatever. I think I would have done a couple of things like, hey, that nutrition, is it working for you? Yes or no? And I'd be like, no. And they'd be like, then we have to do something about it, like a little bit of a decision tree or a flow chart, so I could answer those questions. Just simple yes, no questions that would then lead to further discussion, as opposed to like, are you good? And I'm like, I'm pretty good. Like, and I'll do the things that I came here to do, but I think some kind of a decision tree person or piece of it would be good, right? Like, what's your heart rate now? Is that what you thought it was going to be? Yes or no? Or like, Patrick, did you know it's 90 degrees outside? And I'd be like, I did not know that. Like, because when you poured that water on my back at that second aid station, the ice water, it just lit up my spine. Like, it was like dripping all the way down my back, and I could feel it going like inch by inch down I was like, I didn't realize how hot my entire body was. Like, I was under the impression that like parts of me were hot, but I don't think I appreciated how obviously you are completely hot. Like, that's just individual parts of me. I'm not a stove. And so I think I just misread that part of it as well. So like, overall still going well, but definitely that was a key moment, just given it was the last time I was going to see you before I was going to roll in, because there's no more oases after this point as well. I definitely could have done better there for sure. Yeah. So, hey, it is what it is. We live and we learn. So let's go. We'll continue on to the videotape, and we'll talk a little bit about this last portion of this race. Good God. Let's go. Where are we? I'm going to move us around. Oh, I'm over here. I'm over there. This is like my race. Like, where am I? I can't get it right. That was me on race day for sure. Okay, so last bit here. This section, as you can see, still climby, spiky in time here. That was this section here. It's almost 2 hours of just still more work. Crosswind, headwind, some tailwind, etc. But open, exposed. It's these big, wide lines here that really just started to mess with you, head and time, and just seeing for forever. This whole section here, like, they made you come up again and go into the even worse roads. It was just so brutal. Then you have a big descent down, and then you kind of go into the finish. So we do the whole math inside here. This last portion here works out to be 3 hours at 0.61. So I've gone from like 0.86 to 0.71 to 0.61. My normalized was 231. My heart rate was 128. So heart rate also finally starting to drop here as well. Calories here, 2137 total, all told, and cadence has dropped as well, as I'm just having trouble turning those cranks and doing a lot more standing now than I was before. This section, in terms of like execution, was really me and one other person again for probably an hour and a half before we met another person. Actually, we ran into the guy that I had ridden to the second aid station with, and we grouped up with him. They actually knew each other. And so we rode together for about another half an hour, kind of going along until we got more into at this point in time, you're competing with the 100-mile riders, because the 100-mile riders kind of cut across in here somewhere. So we started dealing with the 100-mile riders as well, which is not running the same speed, but you're trying to, keep up or use them as a carrot. And then eventually by about mile 90, let's put this on the dial here again. Mile 190, which is like about here, the wheels just fully come off. Like I'm cramping like nobody's business. And the rest, these last 12 miles are just me sort of like limping home and really suffering, doing the best I can. You can see the numbers get really, really low in these spaces. It was like the brutality was on. The temps were still in the 80s, even though it's late in the day, like 5, 6 o'clock. And we've just been carrying this temperature all along. So it was a bit of a supper fest. Like at this point in time, there were some sections where I was bona fide dizzy, where I was like, I think I'm not okay. Like I can't eat. I'm trying to eat and drink, but I can't really drink anymore. And my eating is not happy either. And I'm definitely like, how do I just get myself to the finish line with these cramps and this discomfort? I guess the upside of all the cramps were that like I didn't feel like other stuff going wrong. Like I was like, my stomach hurts because I'm like, man, I'm cramping. I wasn't like, I'm really bored, because I'm like, what could possibly cramp next? And so it was definitely sort of a suffer place. And when I reflect back on it and like look at all the data, I did map this out, because I was like, oh, hey, how did I do here in like the preheat before the temperatures got super hot? The preheat was about 5.5 hours of total ride time. And I was about 285 or 0.82 for the preheat section. And then when you get to the post-heat section later on, I said that was 531, right? Then where's my post-heat? Where did you go? Preheat. Hold on a second. Oh man, it didn't show up. Here we go. We'll do the post-heat then, and we'll just fire this one up here. So we said 5.5 hours. This is 6 hours. So a little more time. In this case, my AF was 0.65. And so I lost, 0.2 essentially, or 0.15, I guess, 15% of my power in these two windows here. Interestingly enough, like, I know I had a lot of speed and a lot of effort going in early, but like this isn't actually that bad. 0.65 for 6 hours to go 101 miles on a gravel bike. At the end of the race, like with like a lot of this being like small groups or alone, like overall, I was like, that's not actually too bad. Like it's a lot better than I thought it was going to be numbers wise. I kind of thought if I was hoping to average 17 across the whole ride, I'd be happy. So I guess on some level, like I got away with it in terms of like put in the speed and then was able to stick at the average speed. But I definitely paid a terrible price in terms of like my body condition, even to today, which is Wednesday. It's been 4 days since the race. I'm still like struggling. Like my legs are tight. It feels like I ran a marathon. I think my muscles just really took a serious beating. But at the end of the day, I ended up going 11:46 something, and getting 10th in the age group and top 100. Like, yay, all the things. But I've never been like, I was borderline corpse at the finish line for about an hour and a half before I could even move or stand and eat or drink or anything like that. So lots of lessons learned. I know you didn't get to see me at the finish line, which is a good thing. You may not be talking to me now, or you may never let me sign up for another one of these races, or you might tell my wife as an intervention how bad things were. But I know you were covering those last couple miles, and you were, as Corey was coming in, and you were seeing other racers out there. What were you seeing in terms of like carnage and suffering at the end of this 200-mile day?
I knew there was a lot of solo riding, but I was really surprised at how much solo riding there was. I mean, even coming into like the group that coming into aid 1 was not that big. And it's not like you missed a big group. It's not like, oh, Patrick, that group was, 10 minutes ahead of you or right behind you. I mean, all we did when we came coming through those aids was solo rider. It was solo rider after solo rider after solo rider. So it was, I mean, I knew it was a lot of solo riding just from all the research I had done from like watching videos and listening to podcasts and stuff like that, but really was surprised about, from whatever 78 to like 130 miles is a lot of solo riding. I mean, you're just riding your bike by yourself. And I think the other thing, like watching, I guess if we're doing lesson learn right now or whatever, what I learned or whatever was that, like, I think the other part of that was like, I think we had a good process. I think, slowing down the aid 2 was the right call to make because it gave us, it gave you more time to get cool. We had more ice. We poured ice on you. We got plenty of ice. We got the bike again set up the way you wanted it. But I think like for races that long, like you have to have a more complex fueling strategy of like, and I talked to Corey about that of like, we got to get carbs in from a lot of different sources because I think like what you struggled with. And like, I think you struggled with it. Corey struggled with it. I watched, a couple after actions with some of the pros, both male and female, also not tolerating calories in the heat for that long. I think you just need a different source. You just can't do scratch for 9 hours. I think your body just just loses the ability to process scratch. Like you need to switch. Like, I think if we would, like, if I go back right now, I would like, the lesson learned for me would be like, hey, let's use scratch for the beginning and let's use, never second or something like that. Let's do something else for the second half because like, or like just switch it up in the packs because, I think your body just after a while just says, hey, I just don't have enzymes to move that anymore. Like, and that's why it backs up in your stomach or that's why you end up feeling nauseous or something like that. So that's for me, I think is like the fueling is the one you got to crack is like, you have to crack the fueling and you have to be able to tolerate different sources of fuel. You just can't like, I'm a Gatorade endurance guy, 10 hours, Gatorade endurance. I love it. You know what I mean? What do you think? Yeah.
Without a doubt. Like I was talking about that decision tree. There's also this exercise here in the recap, which is for sure multiform nutrition, recognizing. I don't know if a core body temperature monitor would have helped me sort of capture it because I wasn't really looking at much of my data. But like, I think having a sense of like, how am I processing my nutrition? I think is like a good question to ask. Like, do you have enough food? Is like, yes. Is that like going to get me from here to there? But like, where am I right now? And not like at mile 148, but like, where am I nutritionally right now? And I'm not doing well.
I mean, we knew some of that by like how many wrappers you would eject. And like you were really good on the first one. Like we ejected a lot of wrappers, like you had eaten the right amount of food. The second time you'd eaten like 75% of the food. Plus I knew that you were unhappy with the scratch. So I knew we were definitely in a deficit for calories. So, when you're like you said, for your decision tree, I mean, we had like, you name it, we had it on that table. I mean, you could have had potato chips. We had, we had all the different kinds of gels, but like at that point, like none of that stuff really looks any good to you anymore. You're like, well, I got a gel. I mean, I'm just trading blackberry for chocolate at this point or something like that. You know what I mean?
Right.
So, that's a tricky one, I think, because like, you can, it's like solving, it's like, anyway, it's like, you can't do the race before the race kind of the thing. You know what I mean? But maybe practicing with different kinds of fuel, of like, I'm going to do shot blocks and then I'm going to switch primarily to waffles or something like that. Like you distinctly make a change, rather than just like, I got waffles and blocks. And then like, I'm just going to rotate them like waffles for the first part, blocks for the second part, right? Like it's just going to be something different.
It's like boots and cats. Waffles and blocks. I agree. I think, again, I knew I had a problem, but I don't think I was able to solve my problem in the state I was in. And so getting me into a place where I could be like, hey, plan A is stay with what you're doing. Do you want to stay with plan A or do you want plan B, which is where we like injectify like same ratio of things, but different flavors? Or is it plan C, which is like the plan is not working and we need to solve a problem? Like if I had an A, B, and C choice pattern, then it's like I would know I've got to, because I've already decided that C, for example, has more fluids, less calories, right? And like B has same calories, just different flavors. Like, so I would kind of come in having that framework to be like, which path do I want to choose nutritionally? I think I could have said, I'll go with path C. That's a very simple thing to be like, I need to choose path C, because I've already had in the back of my head from the pre-planning that there's a path C out there, and path C has this. Like, I knew that I wasn't getting enough fluids and the fluids weren't working, but I was like, to your point, we hadn't pre-planned options. We had everything there, but I didn't have a plan on how to use it differently. Like, I couldn't do that math at mile 9. I mean, at hour 9.
Yeah, we were locked into like Patrick gets these bottles like at this concentration, and I think you probably could have used more Gator lights, but we didn't have any more. I said we had everything, but like for you, we just didn't have other Gator lights to go to solve for cramping, and then part of that is just that exertion under that heat, like pros cramp, like everybody's cramping, like that's just. You're just because you're doing something you've never done before. But I guess having more diversity to your nutrition plan, or having some pre-programmed options to offer, would have helped during that second aid station, rather than kind of making up in the fly. We thought we could roll the same plan the entire time.
Yes.
Yeah. And then, having a pre-programmed section, option B, almost like the special needs bag. It could kind of be like a special needs bag kind of option, but like an Ironman. But like anyway, I think it's a good point. So next time, when we go,
next time, I heard that. I see what you're trying to do there. I mean, I think, I think for folks who are tuning in here and trying to figure out how do you solve this long-term stuff, like having those paths of decisions. So you can just choose a track, and then you as a support team are like, oh, I've got track C over here. This is what we do for track C, because this is my one time or my second time to solve at scale a problem. Whereas I can make small choices like I'll drink this instead of that, like when I'm on my bike, but I'm constrained by what I'm carrying. And also by only having my brain as opposed to the brains of others. Like I think there's an opportunity there. And for sure, that's something that I think a lot of other racers have done the math on for like feed, et cetera. And also, let's be clear, like I also wasn't super fit. And so I think there's a lot of places where fitness solves for some of this, where like the beginning wasn't as costly because I was fitter, or, or the heat wasn't as bad in the middle because I was heat acclimated. Like when you're just being like sort of ordinary age group or showing up and doing extreme races in unique conditions for durations that you haven't done before, you're going to run into something. This is what I ran into. And at the end of the day, like my body could keep moving. It just was really hella unhappy. And so I'm very pleased overall with my day, but looking back on it, I'm like, and I actually did the math because I went back to look. The two guys that I was riding with who were so gracious and waited for me for so long until mile 90, when I could not keep going. I had to stop pedaling with them. And those last 12 miles, they only put 5 minutes in me. Like, it wasn't like they were that far. They were like a mile and a half up the road. It, like I never saw them anymore, but like they were, and I thought they were gone. But like I think I was telling people I lost 15 minutes in the last 90 or 12 miles, and I didn't. I lost 5 really. It wasn't like as terrible as I imagined, but it was mentally is about as rough as it gets. So yeah, would I love another crack at it? Yes. Like I think there's a way to do it better, but would I do more preparation for it? Yes, for sure. Like my body is still hurting. Like it is the real deal. You can tell the epicness of your event, both in terms of the event itself and you in that event, is sort of how long it takes you to recover. And I'm pleased to say I'm still recovering. I may go mow my lawn tonight. That's about as aggressive as I'm getting right now. There is no hop back on the bike and start pedaling by any means. So maybe we will go back. Like I love the environment. It was awesome to see. I saw people I hadn't seen in a decade. I got tons of messages of people who were there racing and doing it. And in retrospect, I would have said something ahead of time, like, "Hey, I'm going to Unbound. Like, who's going to be there? Let's connect." Because it would have been fun to bang the drum, and also to see our teammates race and see them achieve their goals, whether it was 100, 200, or 350. Good heavens, it was a ton of fun. So, I definitely enjoyed it. It was a bucket list item and brought lots of energy for sure. So, and I left a lot on the table. So, yeah, we'll see. But I think I owe you a sag, my friend. I'll let you go this dude guy episode, but I was kind of leaning on you a little bit when we were together. Now you sagged me like a rock star at Leadville. You cheered me on. You weren't necessarily sagging me, but you cheered me on like a boss at Steamboat. And now here again at Unbound, like either we're running out of races or you got to find something you love to do so I can come repay the favor much more poorly than you do for me, but still pay it forward. No pressure. All right.
Yeah, I appreciate it, but I think I like my role as crew chief right now. I think it's going well.
Going well. It's going epic. You took two people who were like, how am I ever going to do this thing? And got us both across the finish line. We had fun. We made good decisions before. We were confident going into the race, which is, pretty much all you can ask for. And then actually helped us get through the race. It was unbelievable. Like without a doubt, I knew my odds of success increased so dramatically when I heard you were going to be there. And it was borne out by my experience for sure, because left to my own devices.
You still had to
all
pedal.
the things that were wrong were my choices.
You still had to pedal. I could do everything I could in race stations. You still had to pedal.
Pedal, schmeddle.
All right.
I hear you. Well, this is awesome. Thank you so much for coming back for a Dude Guy reunion and sharing the behind the scenes and showing some images, some data, and numbers from Unbound. I'll be sort of decompressing and releasing more content as we go forward on Endurance Nation, both on Instagram and on YouTube. You can find us there at both places just by searching Endurance Nation, and just sort of sharing more about what it means to put together, execute, survive, in most cases, an epic gravel race like this to make you more prepared in the future. So with that, Matt, peace out until the next episode, the next time we do something incredibly epic or amazing. Talk worthy. How does that sound? Promise. Yep. Pinky promise. All right.
Endurance Nation.
Hey, podcast fans. I know you love the podcast because here you are, you're listening to it and you're still listening to me talk right now. Did you know you can get content just like this in your inbox once a month? We send out a great newsletter. We call it, guess what? The Unfair Advantage. That's right. It's our information to you, something that separates you from the competition. If they're not here, then they don't know. But if you are here, then now you do. Zero excuses. If you go check us out online at endurancenation.us/newsletter, it's your opportunity to enter your email address, sign up for these updates. They come once a month, sometimes twice a month, depending on my race schedule. And it's your chance to get insider information that's going to help you become a better, smarter athlete. Don't miss out on this chance to get ahead of the competition. It doesn't cost you any money, and it's not a ton of work. It's just your email address. That's endurancenation.us/newsletter.
For more information about Endurance Nation, visit us online at endurancenation.us. The provided music is from the Podshow Podsafe Music Network. Check it out at music.podshow.com.